Previously on New Crits on the Block.
There is a large stairwell leading upstairs that seems to branch into different rooms. It looks like you're inside a mansion, but from the outside, it didn't appear to be so. Maybe this is an old mansion that got built over. We have been informed to take you to your individual interviews. If you'll please come with me. And they all split down different hallways and go different directions. You all go to your respective locations. And so you now all find yourselves in your individual situations, and you're beginning to realize that this club is run by a bunch of psychopaths. Brian, do you clap weird?
Oh,
wow!
I was just
what
looking
an accusation.
at you. I was just looking at you clap, and it seemed weird. Can you clap for me?
Oh, this is getting hot.
Yeah.
Why is one of your fingers is like way separated from the rest?
Don't make fun of my husband's weird hand.
You mean my thumb back here?
No, not your thumb.
Fucking
like your index finger and your middle finger. For some reason,
show us.
No,
you're just showing us his hands.
Oh, you know what it is? No, you know what it is? The light coming in through the window behind you is creating this like really bright light in your camera, and it makes it look like you have less finger because it's like the light is like obliterating part of it. You know what I mean? So it looks like this.
No, I'm fine. I'm not self-conscious about my fucking hands now. Thanks, Ben.
No problem.
No.
Aww.
It also didn't help when your wife said, "Don't make fun of my husband's weird hand."
Right?
Because I know he's self-conscious about his weird hands.
No, I'm not. Well, I mean, I
not anymore.
sprained my fingers a bunch, so now my middle fingers are all bent. But yeah, I'm fine. Whatever. Go away. I hate you.
Your middle finger's all bent?
He's got a bent fingy.
Let me see flip me off. Let me see. I don't know. Oh
yeah, no, it's a hell of it.
You jam it or something?
It's not that bad.
Basketball.
Was that
jam the
recent
or out of it? No, that was when I was a kid.
Okay. My dad has what he calls his glass pinky. He has a pinky that if you hit it just right, it'll dislocate. And apparently I did it to him when he was changing me as a kid. And I don't feel bad because I was a baby. He should have done a better job taking care of himself. But he tells me this all the time. He goes, "Yeah, I got this like glass pinky. If you hit it just wrong, and the whole thing will dislocate." And I'm just like, and he's like, "And you did it to me." And I'm like, "Sorry."
Oh, he's saying you caused it overall?
Yeah, I kicked him in the hand when I was a baby when he was trying to change me and like damaged it so bad that now it like the joint's all fucked up. So whenever he like hits it wrong, it'll dislocate.
Oh, that's wild.
I mean, a lasting injury I would blame you for as well.
Right. So, like apparently and he's a guitar player. So apparently I like it's his guitar hand. So I like really fucking hurt him as a baby. But at the same time,
hand.
It's guitar. My guitar hand.
I guess it's guitar hand.
Take my guitar hand.
I guess you use both hands to play guitar.
Yeah, famously you have to use both.
I'm thinking of the one you strum with. Actually, no, maybe it's the one
my strumming hand.
No, I think it's the strumming hand. Yeah,
I think it's the fret hand. So that's even worse.
Is this fret hand?
Fret hand.
Take my
but regardless,
hand.
Yeah, he always tells me, he's always like, "You fucked up my finger," and I'm just kind of like, I was a newborn, so
I don't know, Ben. I've known you a long time, and I feel like that probably was intentional.
I'm a destructive
violent child. You were out
Some
for
people
blood.
need to be taught who's boss.
Jesus.
You okay there, Jake?
Yeah.
Jake is not well.
No. Yeah, Jake's like choking on his own snot, it sounded like.
Gross. It was phlegmy.
That's what it sounded like.
I mean,
it was you had a gurgle to it.
I'm also sick, so.
Oh, God.
Oh, my God.
Well, I'm not
As long as at least one of us.
Yeah, it is a curse. We do always have at least one of us sick.
It's usually you two.
What? It's not me.
Sometimes it's Brian.
I actually got, I don't know how this man,
You
how I
get sick a
managed
bunch.
this.
Shut up.
I do not.
You have a weak constitution.
I haven't been sick in hella long.
When I had my surgery, I was so worried. I was like, my kids are going to get me sick, and it's either going to delay my surgery because they're not going to want to do surgery on me while I'm sick, or I'm going to have a cough post-surgically, which would be the worst, to be like coughing as somebody just cut open your fucking spine. And they're like, hey, don't increase your intra-abdominal pressure too much because you might shoot a bunch of discs out of your recently cut open back. And I didn't get sick. I somehow did not get sick prior to surgery, after surgery, or during my recovery. For like the full 4 months I was off, I just recently went back to work. And like a week before going back to work, my daughter got a cold and she gave it to me. And I'm just like, I'm thankful that it didn't happen during my surgery. That would have been a nightmare. But I was just kind of like, of course, it's time to go back to work and I'm sick. Go fucking figure.
It'd be like that. When you get little germ gremlins.
I sure do. Yep. The cutest little biohazards I've ever seen. When we last left off, you guys were in the Cerulean Club trying to impress the individual people who are interviewing you for this position, this base entry level position that they wish to that you wish to get, and they're all fucking weird. Everybody is super goddamn creepy or accusational or whatever. Like, it just seems like every single person you meet is just not the best.
I like Rogan so far. Seems
you like Rogan?
Rogan is pretty chill.
Okay. Well, we'll see how that goes. I'm sure that nothing else will happen and the rest of the score will be super boring with no opportunities for everything to go to shit.
No. Yeah, sounds good.
So we're going to go ahead and jump right in. We're going to cut right back to Lila's character, who is currently embodying Stephanie Blue.
Absolutely not Elizabeth.
Sorry. Stephanie Blue.
Full.
Stephanie Blue.
Stephanie Blue.
Apologize that I got your fake name for your fake character wrong.
They're all fake names for fake characters.
Yes, so it's really hard for me to keep track of them all because none of these people actually fucking exist.
Says you.
So the last thing she asked you right before we switched to another character is she looked you right in the eyes and said, "How did you come to know your associates?"
Ah, yes, them. Well, being someone so talented as myself, I often look for others who have skills I don't possess to help out with various jobs that I need done. So I recruited them, if you will, to help me out with some of the more physical things that need to be done. You see.
Oh, you don't like to handle physical things, do you? And then she winks at you.
Well, I don't like to get my hands too dirty, if you know what I mean. Wink. And she says wink again.
And she looks at you and you get the impression she actually doesn't understand why they're winking. Why anyone's winking for that matter. Well, we definitely need people we surround ourselves with to ensure that our needs are met, which is exactly why you're here. And we are interviewing. The entire time you two are talking, the servant is just standing nearby, just waiting for someone to need something. And as soon as her teacup starts to get a little empty, the servant comes over and she picks up the teapot and she begins to pour Miss, what did I say her name was? Elsteria, more tea. And then she sets it down and you can see that the servant is, you're now beginning to notice, is like visibly nervous in this room while working with the two of you. And she puts the teapot down and she steps back. And in the process of doing this, she was holding her gloves. If you remember, she had gloves that the servant had taken off. In the process of doing this, she drops one of the gloves. And the servant quickly looks down at the glove and looks up at Lady Elsteria. And the lady simply looks up at her and says, "My dear, You seem to have dropped something. And the servant quickly says, yes, of course, Mrs. I am terribly sorry. And she bends down and she picks up the glove and she holds it out and begins to kind of like dust and clean it. And the lady says, please stop. Leave. And the servant kind of like gulps a little bit audibly, and just kind of goes, yes, of course, Lady Asteria, I shall have somebody come with post haste to replace Go. And the servant takes the gloves and sets them down gingerly on a like silver table that you notice nearby that you're pretty sure is just a glove table. Like that table exists just to put gloves on when you fuck up. That is the entire purpose of that table. It probably exists for nothing else. And she sets them there and she just quickly kind of scuttles out of the room and she opens the door and then she shuts the door behind her. And now you two are alone. And the lady looks at you and she says, so difficult to find good help nowadays. I'll have to have her corrected.
Yes, of course. You run quite a tight ship here. I'm very impressed. I'm taking notes for my team, actually. I feel like they maybe need a little bit more of a firmer grip, if you know what I mean.
And Ben could make jokes about that. Ben leans in and just says,
I wish he wouldn't.
Asteria leans in.
Ben leans in. I do.
Ben leans in.
Christy leans back. Christy leaves the room.
Ben crawls through the camera.
Ew.
Ringu style.
No Ringu.
And I use the Japanese version if you noticed.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, you mean the ring? And then I see what you're
No,
doing. Okay,
Ringu.
Yes. She leans in and she says, do you believe in a firm grip?
Naturally. How else do you get people to do what you want correctly?
Well, some have other prerogatives, other incentives.
Well, sure. If you use a little bit of sugar now and again, it's fine. But I feel like being firm is more efficient. Wouldn't you agree? Wink.
You can tell she's analyzing you as you speak. I can't help but ask. You said you probably have some Aruvian in you. Your features are stunning. You have our skin tone, yet you have the hair of someone of lighter descent. Where are your parents from?
I've been complimented on that more times than I care to admit, but thank you so much. My parents, well, like I said, we're from Duskfall, so I assume they are as well. They don't really tell me much. I don't really ask, to be honest. As long as I meet my needs and have my comforts, I don't really care where anyone's from.
Oh, your parents are still around?
No, they've passed on.
I was about to say, not many of us still have our parents with us still. Life in Duskfall so hard.
Yes, it was dead weight, to be honest. It's better for them and for me that they are gone.
Tell me, where do you buy your clothes? I love your shoes.
Oh, thank you. I just got these, actually. Have you been to Rags to Bitches?
I believe that's located in Silkshore, if I'm not mistaken. I don't find myself visiting the Red Lamp district too often.
I know. It's hard to come down to that level a lot of the times, but sometimes you can find a little hidden gem that, isn't what everyone else is wearing. That's usually why I like to poke around once in a while.
Oh, yes. A wonderful idea. I suppose you can consider yourself a trendsetter.
Yes, I would.
So, anyone in your life? A man? A woman? Maybe men or women?
There's many, many in my life, but no one calls me their own, of course. I like to be a free spirit. What about you?
Yes. Oh, I see exactly what you mean. I'm not interested in being owned either.
Well, then we are of like mind. I love this. We're best of friends we shall become. Wouldn't you say?
I may. What do you use? What action do you use during this conversation back and forth to kind of sidestep her constant prodding to your history and past?
A lot of sway, obviously.
Yeah, you can keep using sway. You're
Okay.
built to do this. It would be weird for me to
That's-
be like, no, you can't use sway.
That's my thing. Okay. Any position?
This is risky because she just keeps laying into you. You're no longer controlled. And, she's picking up on things where she's just like, you go to the red lamp district, your skin tone doesn't match your hair color. Like, who are you? You know what I mean?
Okay.
So risky for standard effect.
Okay. Oh, I got 3 ones.
That is a critical failure.
Oh,
So let me
That's
ask you something.
That's like a
Can I do the
triple
thing?
critical failure.
Yeah,
Can I do the
I didn't know
thing?
you could critically fail your critical failure. If
Can
you
I do the
wish,
thing where that doesn't happen?
you can resist it. You can turn it
Yeah.
into, at the very least, I'm not going to give you a full-blown success. I'll say you can turn this into a success with
Not
a
a com-
consequence.
Okay.
If you
Critical
wish to,
failure.
because I'm sorry, I can't say a critical failure is now suddenly a
Yeah,
critical
that's fair.
success.
Oh, man.
Roll.
Okay.
No.
So because you're using sway, you need to roll your resolve. So click on resolve, and that will give
Okay.
you the ability to roll that. And you, there's no,
No bonus.
this is just roll your resolve, and let's see what happens.
Okay, here goes. Oh, okay. I got a 3, a 4, and a 3.
Okay,
That's good.
So that
4?
takes you take 6 stress, but then you
Oh.
reduce it by 4.
Okay, so just 2 stress.
So
then.
just
Yeah.
2. Yes, I love doing that to you guys because you always go, oh, and I go, and then you reduce it by 4.
Okay.
So
Well, if you
add
rolled
2
bad, it
stress
would've been
to
as
your
good.
to your menu.
Yep, I did.
Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and say that this, again, because you used that up, I'm going to give you 2 more ticks into your positive and 1 more into your negative. And so she knows there's something wrong with you, but she can't figure it out because you are an expert.
Everybody does.
Join the club.
Yeah. Well, because you're an expert manipulator and sway artist, but so is this woman.
Hmm.
She is literally you. She's an and by the way, the book says the people in this club, one of them who runs it, one of the Council of the Seven, is an Aruvian diplomat named her. So I'm like, well, that's who's talking to you.
Well, damn it.
Yeah, so you guys are going toe to toe back and forth with this woman, and she seems like she has a little bit of a dangerous streak behind her. And as this awkward silence is happening between the two of you, and she's just studying you, another servant comes in and opens the door without saying anything, walks over, puts a fresh pot of tea down, takes the old pot of tea away, hands it to another servant who came in with her, who walks away with it, goes over and picks up the gloves off of the silver gloved tray table and goes back to holding them and just staring at you guys. And the lady looks up at her, and she looks, she's a different human, but she looks exactly the same as the previous person. Same posture, same stance, same body type, same energy, same clothes. And you perceive nothing different. But she looks at her and says, that's better. Let's go ahead and cut to Harville Brogan with
Hell yeah,
Arlo's
brother.
character, who is playing Mark Wahlberg.
Fuck it.
You had just been led into a room with a circular chalk ring drawn around on the ground after admitting to him that you were a slave in the fighting pits back in Skullville. And he had told you that he used to visit Skullville and he used to visit the fighting pits when he was younger. And he looks to you and he says, as I said, my father used to take me to the fighting pits back when we used to visit Skullville in my younger years, back when he was still around. He had a business, merchant ships, trades back and forth. He took me with him to show me the ropes, and he used to take me to the fighting pits. It was always so exciting for me to see you guys fight to the death.
It was a pleasure fighting. Glad you found some entertainment.
You enjoyed it. I always kind of thought the reason why you guys, rose up was because you didn't like, your situation.
For the losers, maybe.
Oh, but you're not a loser.
I'm here today.
Such a simple explanation makes so much sense. Well, I have a surprise for you. As somebody who used to fight in the pits and was, as you just said, a winner, I would love to see how it's done. And he reaches up his hand and he snaps, and nearby a heavy iron door with iron bolts on it kind of opens with a bit of a loud opens up, and out comes a man a little bigger than you, with hair much redder and scars much more prominent. He has one milky eye with a large slash that goes from the bridge of his nose directly through his eye down to the side of his ear, and his ear is literally cut in half, midway, but has healed now. And he stands there before you, and he walks into the pit, and this man is shirtless, oiled, muscles rippling, scars covering his body. And he looks towards Mr. Brogan, and he says, you called, sir? Mr. Brogan says, yes. I found somebody who you might recognize. Huh? And you guys look at each other, and I'm not going to say he recognizes you. Skullville's a large place. Could have been lots of fighting pits. Or maybe you do recognize this man. I don't know, Jake. What do you think?
Would you say that he's a renowned fighter from Skullville? Or is
I don't know. I don't think he's renowned, no.
Then I probably wouldn't know of him.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, you guys look at each other, and he looks at you and he says, never seen a Skullvillian with black hair. Are you sure it's this one's one of my brothers?
Mixed heritage.
Well, please come. Let me show you. We'll let you show me what we can do. And the guy, he proceeds to go stand in the ring. It's a fairly large ring. I would say it's sumo size. You could get thrown out of it pretty easily, but it's a ring. And he has no weapons or anything. He's just shirtless, pair of slacks on, no shoes. It's like you're doing MMA, that kind of setup. And he glances to the other side of the ring. And as this is happening, some other servants come in and they offer to take your clothes.
Yeah, I start to. I kind of shoo them away as I'm starting to take off my gear and setting it onto the ground. As I'm doing it, Arlo stops and looks over to Harville. I have to thank you. What was his last name?
Brogan.
I have to thank you, Mr. Brogan. I'm not a man of many words, but I can talk pretty well with my fists.
He smiles so wide and just goes, and I love to listen.
So he takes off all his stuff. He'll take off his tunic.
Yeah, you match his style.
Is he wearing shoes or?
Nope, you're shoeless. You're just basically pants, and otherwise you're undressed.
Hell yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's like MMA. You know, it's just like only this is bare knuckle.
Yeah. Arlo, as he stops before he enters the ring and does some stretches real quick, kind of warm up, and then he walks into the ring.
Okay.
Is there like I guess I would have to create that. There's like some saying, I guess, that like the fighters of like the fighting pits would say to each other. I can't think of like an actual phrase right now, but
we could
I
make
say that
together.
in like
yeah.
in Slaven.
Yeah,
whatever
yeah.
language
I
is.
mean, the whole thing with like Scoville having slaves is not something that's in the book. This is something we've created. So there's no official lore for that. We could say that, we could say that the saying that they were forced to say, because don't forget, it's not like the fighters were given a lot of free reign. So what do you think they said to each other that the masters made them say to each other before they?
Well, I think this is something that they say, like, not for like the masters, but like,
okay, this is between them. Okay, this is their own little quiet thing. Probably led, maybe this was the call that they used for the uprising. You know, like what they started saying to each other in the ring right before they would fight became the call that they would have for their uprising.
No, yeah, that could be it.
What do you think the uprising embodied?
I don't know, like hope or something.
Okay.
I don't know. Like,
no, it's fine. It's fine. I think he looks at,
I don't know, like hope or something, peace, world peace.
yeah, it's not like these uprisings happen overnight. It's not like people actually put effort into their slogans. I think he, right before you guys fight, he walks up and he puts his knuckles out, and I think you guys reach out and you grab each other by the forearms, which is not a standard handshake. It's more of the like.
It's trust. It's untrusting and trusting, I guess, in the same thing.
Right. And
that was a check for like hidden.
And he says to you in Skolven, and I'm not going to try to mimic a Skolven language because it'll just sound racist towards someone. So I'm just not going to try to do it. He says to you,
fair enough.
He says, honor before coin.
Honor before coin.
And he steps back, and you guys put up your fists, and Mr. Brogan says, fight.
Hey everyone, it's your favorite player, Matt, and welcome to this week's Middle Break. Now, if you're listening to this episode on time, there's a pretty good chance that while you're listening right this second, I'm in Disneyland right now. Oh, yeah. Now, if you're not listening to it on time, there's actually probably a pretty decent chance I still might be in Disneyland. So, hey. Anyways, I hope you're enjoying this episode so far. Thank you for tuning in. As you know, there are a couple things you can do to help our podcast grow. The first thing, subscribe, rate, and review our podcast wherever you get our podcast from. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whatever podcatcher you use. Go there, hit the subscribe button, download the episodes, leave a 5-star review, and write a little synopsis about why you like our podcast so other people who stumble across it might read it and think that they would enjoy it too. Also, make sure to follow us on all of our social media platforms. You can find us on Twitter at New Crits and on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at New Crits on the Block. It's your best way to keep up with everything New Crits. And the best way to support us there, share those pieces of content to your own feeds, your stories, tag people. It's a small thing, but I promise you it goes a long way. We're only growing through word of mouth right now. So all those little things y'all do really help out a ton. And one of the ways we like to show our appreciation and give back to y'all is we have a Discord. Yes, it is a Discord for all things New Crits, but not all things New Crits. You can go there, talk about the show, talk to the cast, talk to other fans, but it's also just a safe, inclusive space for you to come and hang out if you just want somewhere to chill. We love the family that we have cultivated over the last few years. And if you're not a part of it yet, what the heck are you waiting for? Now you might be thinking, well, Matt, I want to do all these things, but how do I get to all the places that you just mentioned? Well, from our link tree, of course, linktr.ee/Newcrits on the Block will get you to all the places that I mentioned. In some places, I didn't even have time to mention. linktr.ee/Newcrits on the Block. It is your central hub for all things New Crits. All right, everyone, let's get you back into this week's episode. As you know, we come out with new episodes every single Monday. That ain't stopping anytime soon. So until then, enjoy the rest of this episode. We'll see you next week. Be excellent to each other. Be safe out there. We love you all. Bye-bye.
This is going to be a little bit of die rolling back and forth. It's mostly just going to be you rolling to see what happens. I assume you're going to use skirmish, but you're free to use whatever you want to.
That is what I'm going to use.
Yeah, big shock. I mean, I'm not supposed to tell you what to do, but how did I know that was going to happen? This is bare knuckle boxing, -3 to +3. I want you to just roll a skirmish. Don't add any dice. Don't have any risks or anything. Just kind of roll me like a couple skirmish rolls. Give me 3 skirmish rolls back to back.
No, it's not great. Yikes.
Okay. So we start out with like 0-0. Like I'm saying it's like a -3 to +3 scale, and you're starting at 0. And you guys begin to go toe to toe. Your first skirmish roll was 2 3s and a 1, so it's considered a failure. You guys kind of do that thing where you kind of dance around the ring for a second, trying to kind of get a feel for one another, a couple jabs here and there. You're trying to read him. He's trying to read you. And he quickly realizes that you are a very capable, trained fighter, and you're not leaving him a lot of openings. And so he just lunges for you, and he reaches in quick. And you weren't expecting this. This is not something typically a fighter would do, is just to go all out all of a sudden on you. And he clocks you hard, and he sends you reeling. So with a failure, that pulls you back 2. And so you're a little dazed, but you quickly realize, from that, you see his openings. And your next roll was a 2, a 5, and a 5. So that's what we deem a success with a consequence. And so from that, you fall, you quickly get on the defensive. You block a few punches, you get a few rib shots, maybe a back elbow here and there, kick out a knee. You're starting to push him back a little bit. He's not expecting this assault from you. That's not just bare knuckle boxing. You are, and that's not that it's illegal. He just wasn't expecting it. He thought you were just going to kind of like box him. And now you're really laying into him. You're pulling off moves that you probably fought in different fighting pits. He's not ready for this. And you beat him back, which pulls you back towards the middle ground. Now it's pretty even back and forth. And he comes right back at you. Your next roll is a 1, 2, and a 3. It's considered a failure. He quickly realizes.
We continue, can
Yes.
I use my ability, Battleborn, that I took on leveling up, to push myself to maybe roll one more time or roll a dice?
Yeah,
'Cause
roll 1
Battleborn-
dice and see what you get.
Okay. Let me just
And
roll a D6.
take 2 stress. You're basically
Well,
what I'm
no,
gonna
I want to
say-
use my Battleborn,
yeah.
because I can use so you expend one of your special armor to reduce harm from an attack in combat or to push yourself during a fight. So I'd use
Okay. Now understand,
armor.
special armor is not actually armor. It's just like
Yeah.
you're tough. Yeah, you're tough as nails.
Yeah.
So when somebody hits you, it's just like he didn't fucking move. Oh God, you know what I mean? Okay, so we can say that this last roll using that didn't. Jake, what'd you roll?
I rolled a 6.
Yeah,
Nice.
so take 2 stress.
Hell yeah.
Well, I don't take 2 stress, right? Because I take the
You can push yourself. Oh, you use your special armor.
I use my special armor as
Yeah.
to
So what
do
happens is that you realize this guy is just going for a knockout punch. He just keeps haymakering you. He waits until you leave an opening. He lets himself get hit, and then he hits you back. And so he comes in for this hit, and you actually lean into it, and you hit him with your head. You actually basically headbutt his fist intentionally, and you hear something in his wrist crack. And as he takes a quarter of a second to pull back and lets down his guard, you just uppercut this guy so fucking hard that, right on the button. Just this guy just hits the ground. And he doesn't try to get up. He's not full blown unconscious, but you rung his bell so hard that he knows he's lost. And he is down there. He's bleeding. You didn't kill him or anything. He just looks very fucked up. You can tell he's seeing double right now as he's looking at you, trying to focus to the best of his ability with his one good eye. The other one, even though it's blind, is like off now. Like you hit him so hard, one of his fucking eyes is now like not in conjunction with the other one. The good news is it doesn't work anyway, so it's not like you did him any harm. But like you really decked this guy out. Good roll, good job.
Thank you.
Rolling a 6 on a single dice. Wow.
Yeah. Came in clutch. Thank God.
Yeah, that was close. Mr. Brogan just starts like, that's better than I remembered it. Oh, amazing. I haven't seen something like that since I was a kid. And he walks up to you and he says, my father, he lost a lot of money on a bet once. Couldn't afford to pay. So the people of Skullville, they took my mom as collateral. Never saw her again. And then my father died mysteriously a few years later. And I took over the company. I learned an important lesson. Don't bet on more than you're willing to lose. And he looks down at the man. And he kind of cocks his head a little sideways and he smiles. And he reaches over and out of his back pocket, he pulls out a dagger and he whips it in the sand in front of you. And he says, he's not of any use to me anymore. And he points at you and he goes, but you are. How'd you like to be my right-hand man?
Arlo walks over and...
By the way, I'm going to go ahead and say right off the bat, you get 2 points of like, he likes you points. I'm just going to tell you that's how that went because you did so good there. So real quick under Arlo's sheet, I'm going to, where the fuck are you? There you are. I'm going to go ahead and mark down 2 positive points. So you're high in the positive right now. But he whips the knife in front of you and he says, how'd you like to be my right-hand man?
Arlo walks towards the blade and like kicks it up, just like a little FIFA trick. Gets the knife up into the air and then catches it with his hand. How does he want to answer this, actually? That's
It's almost like I made this to be as fucking brutal as possible. Jake, do you murder your somebody who you may have fought alongside with in the rebellion in a slave pit when you're a free man in order to oppress a person who's promising you money right after you said honor before coin?
No, he said that every time before he murdered somebody. It's just the thing he says.
Okay.
I don't think Arlo really has
but he said it to another man who is no longer a slave, but it turns out still is. Because his life could very quickly be forfeit by your hands if you wished it to be. What do you do? And we're going to cut away to the next person. Because I want you to have time to think about that. And I love the suspense. We cut to Rufus, who is out back, who is playing Bobby Boucher, the mushroom farmer from Skullville. You find yourself standing around a man who is hung from a tree, barely hanging on as he tiptoes on top of a pile of silver. As the Lady Drake, a judge of Duskfall, a magistrate, states, do you know how to use a rifle?
Yes. Daddy taught me how to use a rifle, yes.
I forgot that was your voice. Until you started talking again. I did.
Sorry, let me start over. That was a little too high pitched.
Yes. Daddy taught me how to use the rifle. Yes.
She hands you a rifle. You recognize it immediately as being Severosi military grade, because you have a back history of being in the military in Severos. Now, she doesn't know that, but knowing that you are Severosi, she hands you one of their rifles, thinking that you must know how to use one of these, right? Now, let me tell you a little about what we're doing here. This gentleman was caught committing illegal acts. Specifically, the coin you see below his feet is counterfeit. He was making counterfeit currency using a portion of real currency and mixing it with worthless metals and then stamping Duskfallian symbols across it. A crime that is illegal, obviously. All crimes are illegal. I'm a judge. I should know that. Here's the thing. We can't let people make counterfeit money. It would deflate our economy. And of course, it's an illegal act. It goes against our businesses. We simply can't allow it. So let me ask you a question. If you were in charge, what would be his punishment?
Well, I think I would just throw him in jail. Yeah, you would just go straight to jail.
Iron Hook Prison. You guys all know about Iron Hook Prison. It's the prison of Duskfall. It's where you go if you fuck up bad enough and you get caught.
Yeah, I mean, it's a victimless crime, so I think you should just go to prison. Yes.
A victimless crime? Well, I don't know how some people might feel about that. If I have worked my whole life to amount currency and I've tucked it away for safety, and then somebody begins making more of it and devalues what I have and what I've worked for, you're telling me that's victimless? And as you're saying this, she whips out a pistol and she points it at the man and she fires it and she blows the silver away underneath the man's feet. And he begins dangling and choking from the tree. As his feet are kicking, she's still talking to you. Is that victimless?
Well, right, but he was caught. He was caught, and eventually they all do get caught. Like if he kept going, we find all the counterfeit, and now the balance is restored. So could we please?
As you say, balance is restored. The man finds one of the other silver piles near his feet, because I mentioned to you there was a few of them. He gets his toes on that and he manages to stand upright. But now he's like at an angle a little bit because it wasn't directly below his feet. So now he's like, there's still a little bit of pressure on his neck, but you can tell now he's like, he stops panicking immediately. Oh, he's still panicking. He's no longer actively being choked to death. And and she says, so you mean to tell me that the man who pays his taxes in counterfeit currency is not doing harm to another? One who does pay their taxes with proper currency. They not only are an affront to the hardworking individual, but they are devaluing the money we have. And you would just simply lock them up in prison. Is that how we'd handle things in Severos?
That's what but it's not. It's a. Of course he's doing harm, but he didn't hurt somebody physically. He made a mistake.
A mistake.
Then you throw him in jail, and then he learns his lesson, and then he becomes and he becomes a better person. That's how jail works.
Oh,
why do we have jails if not for that?
You feel that jails are corrective in nature.
Do you not?
I've sent a lot of people to jail. I've sent a lot of people to their grave. I'll tell you that when they stop breathing, they stop committing crimes. And she takes out the pistol and she fires at another stack of coins and she blows that coins out from underneath his feet. He once again is kicking, trying to reach for another one.
What? Okay, look, what do you want me to do? I don't know what to do. I don't know. I don't know what to do.
The man once again eventually finds a final stack of coins next to him that he managed to get his toes on top
Wow,
of.
he made a lot of those coins. Wow.
Yeah, he committed a lot of crimes.
How convenient for him.
And he once again is. You can see around his neck is now like bruised, and even his breathing is like gargly. And his hands are tied behind his back. Obviously, he's being hung to death in front of you. And she says, maybe we should just let him go.
What? I'm not saying that. I don't know. What do you want me to do? What do you want me to say? I don't even know.
And she leans in and she looks at you and she says, I want you to act with conviction.
What?
Rufus,
I'm just here to sell some meat.
What action are you using right now to convince this woman that you belong in a facility that would, under normal circumstances, look down upon people who, frankly, like yourself, commit crimes just like these? Don't forget, you're a criminal, just like the guy hanging.
I mean, I guess all I'm trying to do is just convey to this person that I have money and that I'm trying to, I guess, convey that I grew up in, a house, though, the world and the surrounding area is very, it's a very hard life, and it's, very cutthroat. Like I grew up in a kind of a privileged situation and kind of sheltered. So I just like I don't know, I'm just kind of like given the textbook definition of,
Yeah. So you mean
forgiveness and just what I heard from somebody else say, I'm trying to, convey, I've never seen anything like this before in my life, and I don't know what to do. And I'm starting to freak out a little bit.
Right.
But
right.
I have money, and that's really all that matters. I'm not here to punish anybody. I'm just here to sell, I'm just here to do what my daddy told me to do. So,
yeah. So you convey that to her, that you feel like, this is in your Bobby Boucher voice that
Right.
like the guy's just trying to get by,
Yeah.
Okay. So what action do you use to make her try to feel compassion for this man?
Well, I mean, everything I've said up to that point, and I feel like I would, like the character I'm trying to lead down towards, I would just start I would kind of go in like a fetal position, and I don't know what's happening. You're shooting guns. I don't just tell me what to do. I don't know.
And don't forget, she handed you a rifle this whole time, but you haven't used it. She's been using her pistol. What action do you use? Just give me an action and roll it. That's what we got to do here. So your role play is excellent. I just need to know what you're using in order to convince this woman that you should show some leniency towards this man, or that you are merely a coward who can't handle this situation. And maybe that's, not your jam. What action do you use?
Yeah, I don't know. It's God, I hate this part of it. I know this is the whole game, but I hate this part of it, trying to like make some shit up here.
I know this is the whole game, but I fucking hate it.
Well, I know, but it's just like, I use hunt and survey for everything. It's just like, yeah.
You could roll something that you wouldn't normally roll, and, say that you could bump it up and say, I'm making it a desperate roll, switching position and effect. You can get points and things like. Don't think about how
I can
good
roll.
You are at something.
Can I roll? Okay. All right.
Think about what your character is doing right now and what you would use.
I'm trying to sway. I mean, really, but I don't have. Can I roll it even though I don't have points in it?
You can do a couple things in order to up your ability in sway. You can roll it. You can push yourself to make it better, and you can
do a devil's bargain, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to use sway.
It sounds like it's a sex move every time I hear it.
A devil's
every
bargain.
Single time. Every time I hear
devil's
it.
bargain. It's either push self
devil's
or
bargain.
devil's bargain. And you can also use flashbacks, by the way. These are things where you can set up things that happened in the past that are now happening now. Like you can just say, hey, by the way, I did this, and that's why this is working. You have items and abilities you can use. Like look at your stuff. And don't forget, if you fuck up terribly, you can just resist it.
Okay, so I'm going to use sway. I'm going to use it. I'm going to push myself.
Great. Okay.
I'm also going to have, I'm going to select subterfuge supplies.
Okay.
And then on it, I'm going to like forge a letter from my dad, kind of giving me instruction, very, very basic instruction that I could understand. Right. Just like,
okay.
Find people, sell meat, don't fuck up, like that kind of thing. And then sign, dad.
All right. So what we'll say is you already have this letter.
Like bullet pointed and just very basic,
Yeah. So you already had this letter.
Yes.
Just so you know, you don't have to say like, I fill it out right now. That's not the way the game works. You already had it.
I already got it.
So you pull out that letter and you hand it to her and just in your Bobby Boucher ability, just kind of go like, this is why I'm here, So go ahead and roll your sway, take 2 stress and choose an extra dice. This is desperate for standard effect. Because this is not the woman that you probably should be using this tactic with, but maybe you can get her to
standard effects and then 2 bonus dice.
Right. 1 for the item and 1 for you pushing yourself.
Okay.
But it's desperate for standard effect.
A 4 and a 3.
Okay. That's as good as you could have hoped for because that was a hard roll. So I'm going to go ahead and say that I'm going to give you some positive ticks and a negative tick too. That's the side effect. And I'll put 1. Don't forget, it was desperate. So we're going to click 1 in your resolve tick to remind that whenever you roll a desperate action, you get a resolve tick. Or you get a tick in the action that you're using. And she looks at the letter and the man is now just like on his tippy toes on this last stack of money, and she's holding her pistol and she has it cocked towards him. And she takes the letter and she folds it up and she hands it back to you. First, she actually scribbles something on it quickly, like she signs it basically, like, yeah, I received, like, okay, you got to just give this back to your dad. Okay. And she hands it back to you and she says, maybe next time we should send Mr. Boucher. Well, I have good news for you. This man is being freed. His crime of counterfeiting is being dismissed and she walks over and picks up one of the counterfeit coins that she has now shot with a gun. It's actually like damaged. She holds it up and she says, the counterfeit was so unbelievably poorly done that it never could have passed as real currency in the first place. And so we've determined that he's actually done no real harm. And I suppose the man should have a second chance and not be punished for his foolishness. And she tosses the coin on the ground and she begins to walk away. Let's go ahead and cut to our last one, which is Mr. Zink, who is playing Wilbur Expose. When you last left off, there was a very manic artist who was almost nude, covered in paint, telling you, don't move a muscle, as he was painting you. As you were sitting on the ground of his workshop and you realized that this man is very unstable. As he's painting you, he says to himself, so, what is your favorite type of art?
My favorite type of art is many favorite types of art. And that, of course, would be expressionism.
Oh, expressionism. What is that?
Well, imagine taking your brush
And he takes his brush
Thinking in your mind.
and he looks towards his head.
And then I'm slowly turning into David Bowie here, I guess.
I
a
know.
little bit.
I
A
saw
little
that
bit.
happening. I was
Then
like, I'm not
take
going to
your-
stop it.
Then take your brush and take that wacky, lacky, dacky brush and paint it all over the canvas.
And he looks at you. And he walks up and he starts painting on you. And he
Oh.
says, just like this. I've never seen it before. We paint the person onto the portrait. But why don't we paint the portrait onto the person? It's out of control. He starts like,
now you're Regis.
yep. So he just starts, and he's just like smearing paint on your chest, and it's weird, but it doesn't seem harmful, I guess. And as he's doing it, he looks at you and he says, "Do you have any hobbies?"
I'm just in the business of making that Loge flow.
Phrasing. Well, I think you would be a wonderful addition to our organization if you would allow me to I don't want to paint you. I want to embody you. I want to see what you see. I would love to look out of your eyes. Could I do that?
Sure, let me guess. You're just going to ask me a bunch of questions that I can answer? That's what you mean, right? Like get inside my head figuratively. Right? Right? Right?
And he stops painting and he looks at you and he says, well, yes, I wanted to get inside of your head figuratively. But just like we can paint the art on the art, we can also get inside people, not just figuratively, but literally. And he looks over at the chisel on the table next to the broken statues. And he looks back at you. What action do you use to keep this man from murdering you in the sake of art?
Can I tell that he's like going for it?
No, he's just looking at you and he's so wrapped up in the idea of being avant-garde and postmodern that he's just like, anything I do is art and I'm amazing because of it. He's a little crazy. But you also know with crazy people, you can work them a little bit. So what can you do?
Well, first I'm going to use Prowl to shoot over there really quick to the scalpel he was eyeing.
Okay, there's like a chisel, but yeah, okay.
Or chisel, sorry, chisel,
Hey,
yes.
which is worse.
Yeah,
you ask me.
not in an aggressive way. Like I'm still trying to play it cool.
Yeah,
but
you're like, let me get it for you. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I definitely move over there quick.
Okay, give me your prowl roll. And I'm going to say that this is desperate because he's maybe going to murder you if you're not careful or at least hurt you. And it's for standard effect.
Okay. Yeah, 3, 5, and a 6.
Good job.
Rolls
Good
a
job.
6. You get a hold of the chisel and now you have it. What do you do?
I look over to him and I say, now I know you were eyeing this, but I think you could do something even more daring.
I'm all ears.
What if you were to paint dreamscapes?
Like my dreams or yours?
Exactly.
And he looks over at an empty wall. When you said exactly, you kind of pointed a little bit. I don't think you were trying to point at anything. I just think you're making a point. But when you pointed, he followed your finger up to the ceiling, like the corner of the ceiling. And he just says, if they were real, they wouldn't be dreams. And he goes and takes this ladder nearby and he puts it up on the corner of the wall and he begins painting the corner of the wall like it's a dream, but he's so manic, nothing makes any sense. It's just a bunch of slabbing colors. And we are going to now cut all the way back to Lila. And Lila, you are back with, you were playing the character, I called you Stephanie last time, but I think it was Elizabeth or vice versa.
Oh my God.
It's very
You did it
hard.
wrong again.
Could never get it right.
But why that one's name specifically? It's not even the
Stephanie.
same letter.
Stephanie. She proceeds to look back at you after staring at the servant for a while, and
At
she
the,
had said, "Better. Well, I think I've heard quite enough from you. I do have to go take care of some managerial tasks with some of the workers here." And as she says that, you can see that the servant who's standing there is almost like shaking in fear, knowing that something bad is going to happen somewhere. And she puts her, she kind of just sets her tea out at a certain angle, and the servant reaches over and takes the tea and sets it down. And then she puts one hand out, and the servant puts the gloves over the hand. And then she puts the other hand out, and the servant puts the other gloves over the other hand. And she says, "I will file my report with the other council members, and we will be back with you shortly to let you know our decision. Please return to the foyer, and we will let you know in a moment." And she gets up, and the servant opens the door, and she walks out, and the servant follows her. And you're now alone in this room. And I'm going to tell you that that silverware on the table looks pretty expensive.
Does it?
Uh-oh.
Yeah, it's like silver. Like you can melt it down for silver. And it has like gold inlay on it. It's worth coin.
This is
How much
speaking
is
to Christy.
hard to say, but you feel like
And I'm alone in the room?
you're completely alone in the room. Don't forget, there's no such thing as like security cameras or anything in this world.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff in here.
I'm going to put it under my bustle.
Okay.
I got a big ass dress.
Yeah, I mean, you hide a little bit of really like fine silverware on your person as you leave and return to the foyer.
Just can't resist.
And so that was the completion of your interaction with Elsteria. We then cut to Jake's character, who's playing Mark Wahlberg, as Harville Brogan has thrown a pretty fancy-looking dagger at his feet. And you picked it up, and he asked you if you wanted to be his new right-hand man, as he said that he was no longer in need of this other person. And he stares at you, and he says, "What do you say?"
I kicked up the dagger into my hand, and I'm walking towards Harville, and I like flip the dagger to where the hilt is facing Harville.
Mm-hmm.
As a man that's had something taken from you yourself, I'm sure you can understand if you ever get it back. It's pretty hard to let go. And he hands him the dagger.
However, Brogan looks over at his fighter, and looks at you and looks at the dagger and goes, "I want you to keep it as a souvenir."
Ah, you've given me 2 gifts today.
Mark, I like you. I think you and I are going to have a beautiful friendship.
I put my hand out to him.
And he goes and he shakes your hand with that firm grip that he did earlier. And he smiles at you and he looks over at the other guy and he says, "Your services will no longer be needed. See yourself out." And he looks over at you and he goes, "Return to the foyer. I'll be with you shortly." And you return to the foyer and you have a nice dagger that looks like it's probably worth a little bit of coin. We now kick over to Rufus's character, who is there with Lady Drake, who had just said, "We're going to let this guy go. We're not going to charge him with counterfeiting because his counterfeits were so poor, they're not worth anything. They're a mixture of silver and other non-precious metals. You can tell with just holding the coins, they don't have the right weight or anything. They're not good counterfeit coins. And she looks at you and she says, the quality of this forgery is so poor that the charges will be dropped, as the law does not concern itself with such trivialities. And she turns, and the man is still hanging at the tree, standing on his tiptoes, but the people nearby begin to walk towards him to let him go. And she starts walking out with you in tow. And as she gets to the door back to enter into the house, she stops and says, but one more thing. And she turns and she looks at the man and she says, there is the matter of your charge of tax evasion. And she pulls out the pistol and she shoots the man in the head. And then she looks over at Rufus and she takes the rifle away from him that she handed him. And she says, the law might not concern itself with trivialities, but I do. Please return to the foyer. I will speak with the other 7. And she walks away. And all the people there follow her. And now you're standing there. There's a dead body hanging from the tree. Brains blown out of the back of his head. And at his feet sits a bunch of counterfeit coins that you know do contain some silver in them. They look like they could be melted down. You could probably get something out of them.
Yeah. No one else is in the courtyard?
Everyone left.
Yeah, I guess I would, pocket a few. Just, whatever is not going to clank around as I'm fucking walking.
Right, of course. You can't be too greedy. You gather up some of these counterfeit coins that you feel like might be of, you kind of like pick them up and you're like, which one's weigh more? Like which one's weigh, how it's supposed to weigh. So you're like, what's the right thing? Maybe a couple of these are better than others. Maybe I can pass off a few of these, and you pocket them and you head back to the foyer. And last but not least, Zinc, who is playing Mr.
Expose.
Mr. Expose. You got Rafaelio. He's on a ladder in a corner, shouting at a corner of a wall, throwing paint against it. And he just says, "You have given me more than any man has ever given me before. Please be on your way. I shall speak to the others post haste." And he's not paying any attention to you, and he tells you to return to the foyer. When you look around the room, there's like some light jewelry and stuff laying around that's like half assembled, and like gems and jewels sitting around.
And I'm going to take more than any man's ever taken from you, too. I'm going to get my little sticky fingers in whatever I can get, man. Whatever looks good to me.
You grab some gems that you feel are precious and well cut, but probably won't be missed in this disaster of a room.
Hooray.
And you walk back to the foyer. And congratulations, you guys have completed your interviews with 4 of the 7 council members who sit within the cerulean of the Circle of the Flame. And we'll see next episode whether or not you guys made the cut. So I'm going to go ahead and say that you have nothing but positive ticks here, no negative ticks on your clock. I just did that on Christy's character.
Hey.
You can leave it that way, though.
No, leave mine alone.
You got positive ticks, Christy. Shut up.
There we go.
Wait, no, give me that.